What's up, everybody?
Hello, everyone.
It's Thursday, so tell all your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your countrymen, tell your enemies, tell your lovers or lover. And you shouldn't have more than
No,
one.
just one.
That's a whole nother show, whole different show. Tell everybody you know that we are back for another episode of Inside the Relationship. We got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
We got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, let's go.
So much that I don't even remember what we were supposed to be talking about. So maybe I should probably look that up. But anyway, share this with somebody and let's get ready for this episode. All right, let's go.
Let's go.
You're watching Inside the Relationship with Denise and Ollie.
So sit back, relax, and let's talk about all things relationships.
All right.
What's up?
What's happening? Happy Thursday.
Thursday. Wow.
Yeah, we don't know what day it is.
Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Relationship,
where we talk about all things relationships. And if you're new to this show, you need to go back and watch the other episodes. They are great. We are Oliver and Denise. We are authors, speakers, and marriage coaches. We're passionate about seeing relationships thrive. And as such, we try to put out as much information as we can. We try to have as much conversations as we can. And the goal is just for us to share our journey in hopes that it will encourage and inspire you on your journey. If you're watching live now, shout yourself out in the comments and let us know that you're here and hit the share button. One simple, easy, free way to support us is to hit the share button and share it with your network. If you're watching the replay, do the same thing. Put you're watching the replay and still hit the share button. A easy, simple, and free way to show your love and support. And even if you don't love us, support us because somebody else might. How about that? All right. So listen, we got a lot to talk about today, man. We're talking about who's responsible for communicating with the in-laws. We're talking about what to do when your values and beliefs don't align. We're talking about, we're sharing some ways to build and rebuild trust. That's a good one. That's a good one. And we got a last word, some things that, should be important thing that you should be doing for your marriage. Yeah. So you know what? Let's get into it. I don't know. My head is all over the place right now. That's not supposed to happen like in the middle of the show. That's supposed to happen before and after the show. But anyway, here we go. We're going to start this thing out the way we start them all out with the media mixdown. So let's see what we're talking about in the media mixdown. All right, here we go.
Media mixdown.
So in the media mixdown today, I was watching this video of this lady. I can't remember her name. And she was talking about a scenario with her husband. I believe she's pregnant or something like that.
Yes.
And her mother-in-law approached her her mother-in-law found out some important information about the pregnancy. And she found it out from her sister because her sister is on social media. The mother-in-law is not on social media, so she did not know this information. I guess the mother-in-law felt some kind of way that she was not, this information was not shared directly.
Yeah.
And the daughter-in-law told her that it is not her responsibility to share this information. She said, it is your son's responsibility to share this information with you. It is not my sole responsibility to make sure that you are abreast of everything that's going on.
Right.
Now, she says she got a lot of flack for that when she said that on social media. But her thought process is that her husband should be responsible for dealing with his side of the family and should have the bulk of the responsibility. Yeah. She said it's not that she doesn't want to talk to her mother-in-law. She has a good relationship with her.
Right.
And it's not that she won't talk to her. It's just that she doesn't feel she should bear the responsibility.
Right.
of sharing information, of providing updates and all that kind of stuff, that he should do that.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about that?
I think it depends on the kind, like, see, this is just about this pregnancy. We don't know, like, what their relationship is like outside of this pregnancy. Does she typically share with her mother-in-law or not? We don't know that. So I think it just depends on the type of relationship that you have with your in-laws, because it can vary from couple to couple. And I also think that it depends on what have you done in the past. I'm sure there are other things that the two of you had going on. Might not have been a pregnancy, but maybe something. Hey, we're going on vacation. Hey, look at the vacation pics we took. You know what I'm saying? So I think it just depends. What did you do in the past, and what type of relationship do you have with your in-laws? And I think also too that it's perfectly okay to have the type of relationship with your in-laws where it's, we get along great, but when we're sharing this type of information, you go ahead and give that to your parents or your family.
So,
and I'll go ahead and give that to my side of the family. I think it just needs to be agreed upon and just known beforehand, like how it's going to go, I think.
So here's what's interesting. I've never even considered this before I watched that video.
Never considered who tells what?
Yeah, I never even considered whose responsibility is whose. I never even viewed, I'm going to be honest, I never even viewed that as something that would even be an issue.
Yeah, some in-laws are funny like that.
So now, to speak to what she was saying, though, what she was saying is that she was like, I married a great communicator who communicated with his family. So I don't expect anything to change in that regard.
Right. That's what she said. She said, before we got married, my husband was a great communicator with his side of the family.
Right.
After we got married, why does that need to change?
So if you're watching live, or if you're watching replay, whenever you happen to be watching this, I would love to hear from other people. Is this a conversation you had? Is this something that you had to work out? Like, okay, are you solely responsible for your family and the other person solely responsible for their family? And I was reading through the comments, and some people, there were people who were like, yeah, because I'm not trying to deal with his side of the family, or, I'm trying to avoid drama. There's different things, right? So I never thought about this. So clearly, those of you who are watching, if you hear me say I never thought about that, this is not a conversation we had.
We did not. And
we always talk about conversation, right? We have a show on Saturday nights that's all about having conversations, right? And it's having conversation after dark. But this is a conversation that I can honestly say we've never had.
But I think too, though, that we didn't have this type of conversation. But I think that when there's something that we need to tell, like that our in-laws need to know. For example, let's just say when we told our in-laws that I was pregnant, or I was pregnant with Justin. I think at the time that we told them, we were both there together, or we were both at the phone together when we told them. And I think that it's always been that way.
It has, to a certain degree. It has always been that way. But here's what's interesting, though. Even though we haven't had that conversation, I do feel like it does often land on me sharing with my parents and you sharing with yours.
You do think so?
Well, I'm not. I think so. Yeah, I think so. And we never even planned it out that way. But it's just
how
like
it is.
Like, I'm typically not going to pick up the phone and call your mom.
Correct.
And that does not have any bearing on our relationship whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right. I think she's the greatest, and I'm pretty confident she thinks I'm the greatest.
Wow. Okay, here we go again.
So that's but I don't think I've ever like picked up the phone and called and be like, hey, this was, check this out. And I don't think you've done that. I think you very seldom call my mom as well. Right. So
I can't think of any situations you're saying where it lands on me to tell my family or you to tell yours when you haven't been there, or
Okay.
when I haven't been there if it was you. I can't remember a time where it's been that.
This is interesting to me. I just, it's not a sensational media mix down, but I thought it was interesting because when I listened to her, I was like, man, is this a thing? Like, I didn't even really,
Right.
I never really
We
thought
never
that this
thought
was a
about it.
thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'd love to hear from some folk about how they manage that. Whose responsibility? Have you talked about whose responsibility it is to share pertinent information with the in-laws? Does it land on the child of that particular set of in-laws, or do you tag team like what you just talked about, or have you even come up with a system? Like, is this even a thing for you?
I'm sure for some people it is, because let's face it, some people do not get along well with their in-laws.
That's true.
So
That's
in
true.
that case, I can totally
It would be a
understand
thing.
where it would be a thing. And like this young lady, where she would just leave it up to her husband to deal with her in-laws because they don't have that type of relationship.
Yeah.
So in that instance, I can totally understand how that could happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, that's the media mix down. How do you navigate whose shoulder the responsibility falls on to communicate with your in-laws? Man, I guess you learn something every day. We've been married almost 24 years, and I never even considered that being an issue
Thing. Yeah.
until I saw that video.
I think though that it might be important to have, this is a conversation
Absolutely.
that you might want to have up front. And
Absolutely.
in the event that you don't have it up front, like us, let's talk about it now, after we're married. Hey, going forward, what are we going to do when we have something to share with our parents or the rest of our the outside, extended family? Let's sit down and have a conversation about it now and talk about how do we want to handle that. That way, we come up with an agreement, and your mom or my mom can't come back to us and say, how am I finding out about this from my sister? Why didn't you tell me? Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we have the united front and we have an agreement up front, then we can come back to our in-laws, your mom or my mom or whomever, and say, well, we agreed that it was going to be done this way.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about those kinds of things up front.
Listen, sidebar to this, which could be controversial to some, but I mean exactly what I'm about to say, is that my mom don't need to know some things.
Well, yes, I agree with that.
Let's just keep it all the way above.
I mean, I
She
agree
don't.
with that, but it
So-
in this instance, it was, I think, ultrasound picture because she's pregnant.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? That's nice to share.
It's nice to share, but it ain't necessary.
Okay.
I know I'm going. I know I'm going completely off course with this, but I'm just saying also have that conversation as well, because maybe there's some things that in-laws don't even need to know,
Yeah, I agree.
or they find out when they find out, and whatever. Like, it ain't no big. Like, some things. Here's what I'm saying. I was trying to mix. I was
Pick
trying to
your
mix
words.
words. Here's what I'm really saying. This don't really need to be no issue.
It doesn't. I mean, I agree with you.
It don't.
But
Like,
yeah.
I think we waste a lot of time on issues, on things that shouldn't even be issues. Like, tell whoever you want to tell what, but maybe the thing is that we should determine what is told and what's not. I think that's more important than who does the telling.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But this is a pretty important occasion, and you know how I am as a grandmother. You got to take all of that into consideration.
I guess.
Some things, it may not be important to you, or it may not be an issue to you, but I think it's important to look at it from other people's perspective to see why it might be important to them or might be an issue for them.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, listen, that's the media mix down. Share your thoughts about that.
You're done with that.
How do you deal with the in-laws and communication, and who says what and who's responsible for saying what? Is that a rule? Is that a parameter that you've set up in your relationship? Is it working for you? Is it something you've even thought about? There might be some people watching like, yeah, maybe maybe that's been the reason, that's been the problem all along, that we haven't set some parameters around this. Maybe if we had, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in with our in-laws. So,
Right.
you know, it is what it is. I will say this last thing. There was a period of time where you felt like my mom felt some kind of way, right? I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
A while back, there was some misunderstanding,
Mhm.
right? Probably during that period of time,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely would have fallen on my shoulders
Yes.
to say whatever needed to be said.
Yeah, I'd have been like, you tell her.
Right, because
she
you
already
felt like
feels
there was some kind of way
about
right.
me. So
So I guess in those situations you would have to you'd have to set some parameters, right? So let us know what you think in the media mix down. Listen, if you have some stuff, if you have something that you run across and you're like, man, this would make a good media mix down moment, just shoot it to us. Send us an email or send us a link, DM us a link, or you can shoot us an email to the email that's on your screen, and we'll add it into the mix down. Like I got a ton of stuff that I can pick from, but that doesn't mean I've seen everything or heard everything, right? So if you have something you like, man, you know what that would be, I would love to hear what they say about this particular social media story or whatever. Send that our way so we can add it into an upcoming media mix down. All right.
what is that light shining on my face? Do you see it?
Oh,
is it the sun?
It might be, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the sun
That's
coming
fine.
through the blinds.
Never
maybe.
saw that
They're
before.
closed, but yeah, it's interesting the way
Okay.
it's. Yeah, well, it's all good. You are the sunshine of my life. So how about that? Forbidden points. All right, listen. Let's keep it moving. We got an interesting question of the week this week. I'm not even sure how we're going to tackle this. So those of you who are here, we would love, again, if you're here, jump in the comments. We would love to hear what you have to say about it. This is not just a come listen to us talk and give our opinion. This is a community show of sorts. So let us know what's going on. Anyway, let's get into it. So here's a question of the week. Nope, that was last week's question of the week. My bad. Here's a question for today.
My wife has very different religious and political beliefs or views. I did not think it would be an issue in the beginning, but now I'm concerned. What is the best way to navigate having different beliefs? I think it's supposed to say having different beliefs. Oh, it does say different beliefs. Wow,
like,
sorry.
What are you reading?
Yeah.
Like,
what's the best way to navigate having different beliefs? This is
an interesting one. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
I gotta say up front that I would be very hesitant to marry someone that has a different religious belief than me.
I hear you.
I'm talking religious, not denominational.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would really think twice about that.
And
I've seen too what it can do.
Interesting you would say that, because this does not necessarily specify. You just made a distinction between denomination and religion.
It's two different things.
It is two different things, and I wonder what this is implying.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. In the beginning, according to this question, they weren't concerned at all.
Yeah.
So that means you would skip over some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you would let some stuff go if you don't think it's going to be a problem.
Right.
But then now here we are. I'm getting concerned.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
That is a tough one. I don't even know what's the best way to navigate that.
So here
especially if you knew about that up front.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew up front that, or maybe they didn't. I'm assuming
they had to have known, because they just said I didn't think it would be an issue
in the beginning. Yeah. If you knew about this up front, I don't know how you didn't think it might not be a concern in the beginning. Maybe they didn't practice it initially as much as they do now. I don't know. So I'm not. And then
political beliefs on top of that. Like, this is a crazy climate to be married and be on two different sides of the fence. And I'm just thinking, I always think to myself, how do married couples operate if, let's say, for example, one is a Trump supporter and one is not,
Mhm.
right? What is the tension that's caused in that regard,
That's
right?
tough.
So it is tough. And here's what I would say. Because what you can't do is force anybody to change. Not at this point,
Yeah.
because you got into this.
At any point.
You got into it knowing this is what it was, right? So now the question becomes, the real question is this: what's the best way to navigate?
Yeah.
The best way to navigate is now to really kind of set some guidelines around what your conversations look like
Mm.
as it relates to these particular areas.
Mhm.
How do we speak to each other?
Mm.
What types of tones and phrases and answers and responses and reactions are off limits, and what are acceptable? Like, you're not going to be yelling at me and telling me, what I think is crazy and what you're doing is great. We can't do that kind of stuff to each other. Like, we got to set those kind of ground rules from a communication standpoint, I think is important.
Mhm.
And then I think from just a navigational standpoint, now the question becomes how we have to look at we have to look at the belief systems across the board.
Mhm.
What are the things that are detrimental to the to our marriage? And is there anything that's detrimental to our family?
Mhm.
Is there anything that will tear us apart? Is there anything that will drive a wedge between us? And those are the things those specific things need to be addressed. So it may not be, let me give a concrete example. So it may not be the religion, the overall religious beliefs,
Mhm.
but it may be that, okay, these religious beliefs cause us to worship on 2 different days.
Mhm.
Is that going to cause scheduling issues? Is that going to cause neglect issues? Like,
Feelings of neglect.
right? Like, if you got to be somewhere on Sundays and I got to be somewhere on Thursdays or whatever the case may be, is that going to pose a problem in how our family operates?
Right.
Because
and then our children
and your children, right? So you got to look at those. You got to make decisions now based on those factors, right?
Yeah.
It can't be just based on, oh, we think 2 different things. It's, how does this thinking now affect the trajectory of our relationship?
Mhm.
And how does this thinking affect anybody else who is around, whether if you got kids or anything like that? Because you can't be like, if you accepted it, here's the hard truth. If you accepted it in the beginning, then you're stuck. Now, I said that for shock value. You might not be stuck, because the goal is for you to come to some level of agreement. Now, here's the thing you need to understand is that agreement doesn't always look like you all thinking the same thing.
Mhm.
And that's where a lot of couples kind of drop the ball, because they feel like agreement means, if I think this is blue, that you should think it's blue too, and that we
Yeah.
agree. That's not always what agreement looks like.
Mhm.
Agreement sometimes looks like you being able to negotiate a situation to the point where what's happening for the union is the best thing that's happening for the union.
So
And the best thing might be some level of negotiation or compromise, which might be, and hold your thought, which might be, hey, listen, you know what? Let's talk to religious beliefs right now. Hey, you know what? You have particular study that you go to on Thursday nights. I don't necessarily want to be a part of that, but there's one that I go to on Tuesday nights. How can we work our schedule now so that I'm able to respect and honor the fact that you want to be in this space on Thursday, and you can do the same for me on Tuesday?
Mhm.
Sometimes that's what agreement looks like.
Yeah.
Not, oh, we're going to both go on Thursday. No, we're not, because I don't want to go.
Right. That's kind of what I was gonna say. Like, agreement might look like, you do this on Thursdays, you have this study on Thursdays, I have this study on Tuesdays, so that we can keep the rest of the scheduling of the kids and whatever else,
Mhm.
keep it going and not disrupt whatever else is going on with the family. Can we alternate, and I go every other Tuesday and you go every other Thursday type thing?
Right.
Just gotta come
And
up
that's right. I think sometimes that's what it looks like, is the negotiation
with,
that takes place in order for you to get to where you're going. Shout out to Geneva in the comments. I think she might be tagging somebody.
Okay.
Put a name, John McDonald. Might be tagging somebody, maybe to get John's opinion. So there, for this question, there's no, and this is our opinion. We're not the end all be all.
Right.
That's not what this show is about.
Yeah.
Just to tell you, thus saith the Lord. No. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
But here's what I will say. There are conversations you have to have if you're concerned.
Yeah.
If you're concerned now, you need to share what those concerns are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you also need to be mindful of how you're sharing what those concerns are. Because if you just running up on your spouse like, man, I knew this religious thing was going to be a problem because you thinking it. No. That's not how we don't do this, because you accepted it in the beginning.
Yeah.
So you can't just run up on them and be like, oh, no. Hey, babe, listen, you know what? I know in the beginning, I didn't think this was going to be an issue, but I feel like these areas are being affected
Yeah.
by, our differences. How can we approach this?
Right.
Like, bring it to your spouse, bring the concern to your spouse, and then begin to negotiate.
Yeah.
There's something that we talk about, and I'm not going to get into it right now, but there's 3 areas of effective conversation that we talk about with our clients, and it's explanation, clarification, and negotiation.
Explanation. You always say it so fast. Explanation, clarification, and negotiation.
And we won't get into what that is right now. That'll be another show, or maybe you just need to get in a group coaching session with us. Shameless plug.
This shameless plug.
But that's how you begin to navigate this. What is the best way to navigate it? We can't give you a best way, because the best way for us may not be the best way for you. However, universally, we should be bringing our concerns to our spouse, and we should be learning how to explain, clarify, and negotiate in a way that allows those concerns to be addressed in a way where the team wins in the end.
That is a really, really tough situation to be in.
It is.
Because even when you think, okay, I need to talk to my spouse, I really want us to win. I really want our relationship to be the best that it can be, right? And so I'm going to go talk to my spouse. Hopefully we can work something out. Even in this type of scenario, even in the negotiation, I feel like there might be some type of hurt that comes out of it. Yeah.
Even if you negotiate in a way where the team wins, you think somebody still might be hurt?
I mean, I guess if there's hurt, then the team didn't win, right? No, not necessarily. Think about a team winning, like a literal basketball team. If the whole team wins, one player might feel some kind of way about something they did that, I'm not basketball, or something they did that kind of messed up the team, even though they still won.
I can see what you're saying.
I can see what you're saying. That's really tough.
Yeah, I think you got to have a conversation. Now, here's what I would ask for anybody who's watching now or might be watching the replay. Are you experiencing this in your marriage? We'd love to hear from you. Share your 2 cents on how you're navigating. Or if you know someone, share it, and they will allow you to share how they're navigating. Then share that as well, because that can be helpful to others who are in this scenario, because this is not an isolated case by any means. There are individuals who worship on different days and who share different denominations and share different religious beliefs. And, one person is Muslim and one person is Christian, and these kinds of things. So it does happen, number one. Number two, it happens successfully. So obviously, for those who are doing it successfully, there is something that they were able to figure out. And I believe that at the core of whatever their best practice ends up being is their ability to communicate about it.
Yeah, I would love to hear from someone.
Yeah.
As to how they navigated it.
Yeah, and their ability to negotiate. I think those are 2 very crucial things right here. Your ability to communicate and articulate it in a way that does not belittle, does not ostracize, and does not just completely beat down the other person.
Right.
Number one.
Yeah.
And number 2, your ability to negotiate and get to a place of agreement knowing that agreement does not necessarily mean, yeah, we're going to switch to Thursdays.
Mhm.
No. That's not what that necessarily means. Agreement means we've come up with a plan that works.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we didn't really answer that question all the way,
It's kind of hard
100%.
to answer that one.
But that's, that's where I'd start. That's where I'd start.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Anybody who has any response to this question, because hey, there may be people out there who are like, hey, we got the answer. We know the best way. Put it in the comments, share it, and let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. Also, if you have a question that you want us to tackle on the question of the week segment, you can email your question to admin@denali.org, and we would gladly tackle that question. All right. So that's the question of the week. Two different religious points of view, two different political points of view. It wasn't an issue. Didn't think it was going to be an issue in the beginning. And this is the wife that has the different view from the husband. Husband didn't think it was going to be an issue in the beginning, but now it's starting to have some concerns. What's the best way to navigate having different beliefs? All right. That is the question of the week. Now that brings us to the next segment, which is
Marriage Minute.
in the Marriage Minute. We're talking about trust. We're talking about building and maintaining, rebuilding trust. Now, I'll start it out, and then I'll kick it over to you to see what your thoughts are about building trust. I started out with something that I say all the time. I did a post about this a long time ago. Trust is like a high-rise building or any big, humongous building. I just watched them demolish an old stadium in some state, right? You cleverly place some charges around this humongous stadium that held tens of thousands of people. And they brought that entire stadium down to dust in about 60 something seconds. Trust can be destroyed that quickly.
Yep.
Now, it does not matter who you hire. You can hire the best contractor and construction company in the universe. Even with AI, they ain't building that stadium in 60 something seconds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a guarantee. And that's exactly how trust is. You can topple, completely demolish to dust trust in an instant.
Yeah.
And it takes forever to rebuild it.
Forever?
I'm saying that metaphorically. It doesn't take forever, but don't think
It's
that
not
you
as
just going
quick.
right. Don't think you just going to destroy somebody's trust and tomorrow they're going to be like, "Oh yeah, we good."
Right.
Nah.
Nope.
We ain't good.
Nope.
Yeah, it don't happen like that.
As you were talking about it, it reminded me of when we went to the conference, the Weekend to Remember conference. And in an instant, my trust was lost. My trust in you was lost because of what I learned. And you are correct. The next day was not.
No, it was not.
Yeah, the next day.
Nor was the day after.
It took a while, even after. Is this possible? Even after we talked about it and I forgave you, even after that, the trust was still being rebuilt after forgiveness. So don't think that after you forgive someone that the trust is automatically restored. The trust still needs to be rebuilt even after you've forgiven. It took me a good while to fully trust again. Yeah. And so that's what it made me think of.
And sidebar, you mentioned forgiveness. Here, let me just this is not part of what we were talking about, but let me just say this since you mentioned forgiveness. In using the example of the stadium,
Mm-hmm.
right? They demolished that stadium so that they could build, they're building something in its place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they will not be able to start building something in its
On
place,
top of all of that road.
right, until all of that is moved out of the way.
Right.
Forgiveness is simply the process of moving all that stuff out of the way.
Mm.
What you do next in that space is on you. There are no requirements, there are no mandates on what happens next. So often people don't want to forgive because they're like, I don't want to forgive because that means that person's going to be back in my life. No, it doesn't. That don't
Not
mean that.
necessarily, yeah.
You don't got to build that same person right there, but you do got to move all of that foolishness out of the way
So that you can move on.
so that you can build whatever it is
However
you're trying
you
to
decide,
build.
yeah.
Right. So that is what forgiveness is. I just wanted to throw that out there just because we have a very warped conception. We have a very warped perception of what forgiveness is. So just want to share that. Now, as it relates to building and maintaining and rebuilding trust, there's one, I say this as well, consistency. If we're going to keep the building analogy,
Mm-hmm.
consistency is, or are, I don't know how you say that, the building blocks of trust. Is the building blocks of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't expect to rebuild or even maintain trust without some level of consistency.
Right.
Right? Now, I'm going out on a limb here, and I could be dead wrong. I've been dead wrong before, but I'm going to go out on this limb and say, even in the scenario that you brought up with Weekend to Remember,
Mm-hmm.
the advantage, I'm using that word loosely, that I had in that scenario is that instead of the whole building coming down, I feel like
Just a piece
parts
of
of the building came down.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I had already been consistently building up this fortress of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having this very sturdy brick house, but the floor caves in,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. I think was kind of our situation, as opposed to the whole building coming down.
Yeah.
Now, you have to, what does consistency look like in trust? Building trust.
Consistency looks like, for example, you say, babe, I'm gonna, I need to leave work. I need to work. I got stuff to do, but I'm gonna try to make it home for dinner, 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that. You come home every night, 6:30, 6:35, 6:25, 6:40. Consistency looks like, if I'm going to be late, I call you. You call me ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be late, you call me ahead of time and say, I don't think I'm going to make it for 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
I might not get there till 7. That type of thing.
Okay.
Just being consistent with doing what you said you would do. And even when you can't, letting me know.
Some type of contingency.
A contingency. Right. Yeah.
So, yes, doing what you said you would do.
Doing what you said you would do.
Is major. If you said you're going to do something, do it.
And here's the thing, too, with doing what you said you would do. There are some, people, they get so, I think, nervous or afraid. I don't want you to be mad at me, or I don't want you to leave me, or I don't want us to fight. I'm going to be there at 5 o'clock. I'm going to do it every day. I'm going to get there at 5 o'clock. I promise I'm going to do that. You know good and well you can't make it at no 5 o'clock. Right. So right. Don't say that. Make realistic promises. Mm-hmm. Set realistic goals.
Set realistic
goals of what you can achieve. If you know you can't be there at 5 o'clock, don't say that.
Right.
I would even give yourself a cushion. 6:30. I'll be there at 6:30, and you can probably make it by 6:15, 6 o'clock.
Listen, they say this in the business world and it applies here as well. Under promise, over deliver.
Over deliver. Yep.
Don't over promise and under deliver.
Correct.
Because you can forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
You just forget about it.
Yeah.
Just hang it up. Right.
Yeah.
If that's what you're going to do. So if you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
If you say you're going to be somewhere, be there. If you make a promise, do make good on
your
that promise. If you can't for some reason, because we're human beings, so we're not going to bat 1,000 every time.
Yeah.
Put in contingencies, and this is where negotiation comes into play, right? Be like, hey, listen, babe, this is what I'm pledging I'm going to do for you or with you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that I can't, here's what we're going to put in place so that you know I'm not just blowing you off.
Right.
Here's what we're going to put into place.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing I would say too is along with the negotiation and being consistent in that area is man, I just lost my train of thought just that quick. Consistency, negotiation, and take that person, your spouse that you're rebuilding trust or you're maintaining trust. A great way to do that is to take them along for the process.
Yeah.
So let's use the building analogy, right? If you're building a home, I don't know anyone who has built a home who never went to look at the progress.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone. Now, I'm not saying that no one exists. Now, God bless you if you trusted them to go through the entire process without ever going to look at it. But most of the people we know who have built a home, they go over there and look at, oh, the windows are in now, or, oh, the floor is up, the frame looks good, or, man, they about to put the doors in, go over there and pray over it, write scripts. All they're there. They're involved in the process, the building process. You need to take your spouse through that process. They need to feel like they are a part of it. They need to see what you're saying.
So give an example of that.
So an example of that would be, let's say, for example, something you need from, and this is going to go back to something else we're going to say next, but let's say something you need from me is you need me to be more forthcoming with how the money's being spent. Right? So I can promise you, yeah, I'm going to be forthcoming with how the money's being spent, but bringing you along for the ride would look like, hey, babe, listen, after dinner, I want to show you something that I'm working with in QuickBooks on the books, and come and show you, hey, this is where we're going to move this here, and this is going to go here. It's going to look like it's a deficit over there, but that doesn't mean that I took it and I'm spending anything. It's actually going to be right here.
Yeah.
So now she's coming along with me in the process. So everything I'm saying, she gets to see what I'm saying. That's very important. And to go back to that, you should know what it is that your spouse wants. Again, using the building analogy, we don't know anyone who has built a house and said to the builder and to the company, construction company, contractor, hey, do whatever you feel like doing.
Right.
You said you build nice houses. Okay, we believe you. Build whatever you feel like building.
We don't need to see your portfolio. Just do whatever.
No. I don't know anybody who said that. People pick their flooring. They pick their colors.
Yeah.
They pick the appliances. They pick, hey, listen, I want this stuff. So in the building of trust, the rebuilding, the maintaining, your spouse should know what it is you need in order for that building, that construction to be what you want it to be.
Right.
And then that gives them something that they can bring you along for the process on. So those are some of the areas. Be sure about what it is you want. Be consistent. If you say something, do something. Be able to bring them along for the process. And just know that it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. Like it takes time can be tacked on to what we said last week. Like progress is progress.
Yeah.
And so if I am the person that's trying to rebuild trust, I can't get mad at you every time you ask me a question about whatever broke my trust, broke your trust. I can't get mad at you when you say, so what did you say you did? Or how did you say, you know what I'm saying? And you might be like, babe, I told you that already. You know, I already explained this to you. But on the other hand, you're good because you see that you're making progress. Progress is progress. And so it takes time. And
I would say this too, to the person whose trust has been broken. when you see progress, allow that progress to build anticipation in you, as opposed to allowing yourself to compare the progress to what is not there anymore. Again, using the home building analogy, I don't know anyone who, when they're building a home, is upset when the windows go in because the house is not done yet. Now, there are people who get upset because the windows should have been in 7 months ago and they're just coming in today. That's a different story, right? But we're talking about if things are really going the way they should.
Yeah.
What it does, every new thing that happens, that builds anticipation. Oh, you know what, man, they're going to be done by Thanksgiving. We're going to have this dope Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
It builds anticipation.
Yeah.
So as you begin to see progress, as consistency starts to be evident, as they are showing you and taking you along for the journey, allow the progress that you see to build in anticipation in the fact that they are building something. So that's our marriage.
One last thing.
Yeah.
One last thing I would say. If I was the person who, if you were trying to rebuild trust with me, and I see you being consistent in doing all of the things, I think it's important to acknowledge that to you. You know, I just want to let you know, I see that you're doing what you said you would do. I see that you're doing X, Y, Z, and I see that you're doing whatever. And I just want you to know that I see that you're doing that, and I really appreciate that you are doing what you said you would do to help to rebuild this trust.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I see it.
Good.
Because that's motivation for you and it's anticipation for me.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
And we tell our clients quite often, we tell them that consistency, anything that you want to see consistent, you should celebrate
it.
Right? The celebration builds, it helps to motivate, right? It helps to motivate consistency. Consistency builds confidence. The celebration takes that and it becomes this cyclical process where you're seeing progress. The anticipation, the celebration is there. Man, we're moving the needle in this thing. That feeling, that celebration, that anticipation fuels the motivation for you to continue to be consistent.
Yeah.
So that's the Marriage Minute. Trust can be rebuilt. So for anyone who is in a situation now where they're like, man, I'm right where you're talking about. I don't know how this thing is going to happen. I don't even know if I want this thing to happen. Trust can be rebuilt. Yeah. It can be. So there are some decisions you have to make. After you forgive, which forgiveness is mandatory, reaccess is not. So after forgiveness, you have some decisions to make. Hey, do we want to even rebuild?
Right.
Because sometimes things are demolished and nothing is in its place. Or the thing that is in its place is completely the opposite of the kind of structure that was there before.
Right.
So you have some decisions to make. And then once that decision is, yes, we're going to move forward, that's where all these other things that we talked about come into play.
Right.
All right. So listen, for those of you who are rebuilding, we are praying for you. For those of you who the trust is there and you need to maintain, we're also praying for you and rooting for both of you, no matter what case you find yourself in.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's the Marriage Minute for today. We hope that was beneficial and helpful to someone whose ears this falls on, whether watching now or watching the replay. Listen, if it's valuable to you, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
Or just share it. Hit the share button. If you think it's something valuable that somebody may want to hear or need to hear, hit the share button, share it with your audience as well. So listen, we coming down to the end of this thing, man, and how we end this is typically with the last word.
You did the same thing last week.
I got to remember that every time I say last word, you're probably going to repeat it. So I should probably wait till you repeat it.
Watch me not do that next week.
I'm going to be like the last word. All right, listen, the last word is simply this, man. You should be investing in your marriage.
That's a good one.
You need to invest in your marriage. Now, if you think about anything of value that you own, you take care of it.
Yeah.
If it's your car, right? You get your car washed, you get it detailed, you get the oil changed, you don't neglect it, because neglecting it means that one day you're going to wake up and it's not going to serve you in the way that you need it to. Right. And to do all of those things costs money. So you're investing in it. You're paying the detailer, you're paying the person who's doing the oil changes, or you're doing all that yourself.
Yeah.
But you're spending the
Still
money
an
to get
investment.
the supplies and get the things that you need, right? Whatever it is, jewelry, whatever it is, the thing that's important to you, that it and holds value in it, or is valuable to you, you invest in it. If your marriage is valuable to you, you should be investing in it. What does investment look like?
It could look like a lot of things.
It could look like a lot of
Investment
things.
can look like making sure you set up quality time with your spouse that looks like a date night every week, that looks like a staycation once a month, that looks like going away for a weekend getaway once a quarter, that looks like going to marriage conferences, marriage seminars. There's plenty of ways to invest.
Yes. There's many ways to invest. Seminars, coaching. There are many couples who are clients, and we let them know you're making an investment.
Exactly.
In the trajectory of your marriage.
Yeah.
Right? It's an investment that you're making. It's not, you're not throwing money away. Well, that's a whole nother story. Some people are throwing money away because they come with no intent on working.
That's a whole nother
story. But you should be investing in your marriage. So if you're not intentional, that's the key word. If you're not intentional, if you're not setting up things that are going to be to the benefit of your marriage, if you're not learning more about each other, if you're not investing in whatever it may be, reading books. Listen, we got a YouTube channel, right? This shameless plug, because it's our show, so we can talk about us. We have a YouTube channel, and there are 400 plus videos on that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I told somebody not too long ago, I was like, listen, you don't even need to be my client. Just go subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy about that.
Yeah.
One, you'll be doing me a favor because you subscribed, and we're trying to build our subscribers. Two, there is so much information.
Yeah.
It'll take you a year to get through it.
Yeah.
And then come back to me if you feel like you need to walk through some things. But there's so much information at your fingertips. There's so many people who talk about marriage. There's so many videos. There's so many preachers. There's so many books. There's so many seminars. Listen, there's no reason why you should not be investing in your marriage. If your marriage is valuable to you, you should be investing in it as much as you do anything else that's valuable to you.
Yeah.
Your house is valuable to you. You invest in it. You make sure that it's clean. If something goes wrong, it doesn't just sit there going wrong. At least I hope not. You get it fixed. You spend the money to get it fixed. And if it's something you can't do yourself, you bring in the experts to help you do it. Listen, your marriage is the same thing.
Yeah.
Dare I say, the most important investment in your life.
Yep.
The most important and valuable thing to you. So
Agreed.
That's the last word. Invest in your marriage. If you need some ways, some suggestions on how you can invest in your marriage, shoot us an email. admin@denali.org. We can give you some ways to invest in your marriage. Now, just know one of those ways is going to be come work with us. But there's going to be other ways.
Right.
It won't just only be us. We'll give you a ton of ways. Therapy, sessions that we know of, people that we follow that might be in your area that you can go see in person.
Right.
We can give you all of that. All right. So shoot us an email. We'll let you know how, if you want ways to invest in your marriage. David Kennedy's in the comments. Shout out to David Kennedy. Hello,
What's up,
fam.
David?
Looking good. Intentionality. Yes, sir. Intentionality is the key.
Yep.
Invest
in your marriage.
That's
right.
All right. You should be doing that. All right. That's the last word for today. Listen, if you did not catch the beginning, make sure you go back and catch the beginning of the show. We talked about in the media mixdown, just who's responsible for communicating with the in-laws, man. Just an interesting thing that I've never thought about until I saw that video. So check out the media mixdown. Let us know what you think about that. The question of the week: how do you navigate having different beliefs in marriage? That's a tough one. You'll hear how we answered it. We would love to hear how you would answer it as well. We talked about how to rebuild, how to build, maintain trust.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last word, invest in your relationship. All right. So listen, we're going to get out of here. Just want to promote real quick the show that we have on Saturday nights. Have a conversation after dark. Listen, let me tell you something. If you have not seen one of these, go back and watch the last one from last Saturday night, just so you can get an idea of the kinds of stuff we were talking about. Listen, we want folk to have conversations and have conversations about everything.
Last week's was wild.
Last week's was crazy.
You were off the chain.
Hey, we had a good time. We had a good time. Last week's was crazy, and the folks in the comments helped egg us on, so it was really good. All right, listen, we're gonna get out of here, man. Blessings on you and your marriage, your relationship. We pray that something you heard today will be beneficial. Again, do us a favor. It's free to you, but it would help us a great deal. Just hit the share button. Share it with somebody. Send it out to somebody that you love and care about. And invite them to come and hang out with us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Inside the Relationship.
Yes.
All right. Listen, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a phenomenal weekend. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Should probably play the outro. Peace.